Hey, it's Zane. Welcome back. Hope you're doing great today. Thanks for being here once again. And in today's video, I want to answer the question, should you spend your Bitcoin? Should you spend your Bitcoin? And this is an interesting question, and it's a question that kind of generates a little bit of debate, and probably rightly so, because if you've been here a while, you'll probably be very familiar with the narrative that Bitcoin is the ultimate store of value. Bitcoin is pristine collateral. Bitcoin is digital gold. Never sell your Bitcoin. Bitcoin is generational wealth. And all of those things are absolutely true. And of course, it speaks to Bitcoin's value proposition as a store of value. And we know that in order for something to have the properties of money, it needs to have a store of value. And this is why when we look at fiat currency, for example, it's not money because it doesn't have a store of value. I mean, what we see with fiat currencies, the Australian dollar, US dollar, the euro, what do we see? They're a hopeless store of value. And so this is why we can't call them money. I know that we're under the illusion that they are money because essentially we're dictated to as far as the currency that we have to utilize and spend and save in. And unfortunately, most people, just because of that, they just trust that it is money when in reality it's not money because it's a hopeless store of value. And this is why over the course of 5,000 years, gold has been considered money because it's a great store of value over the long term. But the problem is when we start thinking about medium of exchange, which is another crucial property of money, medium of exchange, this is where gold starts to break down, because if you and I are going to transact value, even though gold is a bearer instrument, essentially a decentralized asset in its own right, you and I really can't transact in gold peer-to-peer in any really useful way, because it's very difficult to shave off a little bit of a gold bar in order to exchange value and to pay for something or to send it across the other side of the world, etc. And so when it comes to medium of exchange, portability, all of those kinds of things, it's very difficult for us to really consider gold as money when you compare it to something like Bitcoin, which is not only a phenomenal store of value, but also medium of exchange. And so Bitcoin, we have to understand, when we consider and we read the white paper, Satoshis white paper, that came out on the back of the global financial crisis in October 2008. When you read the white paper, and you can Google it and look it up for yourself online if you haven't read it, or maybe you've read it before but you need to revisit it just to remind yourself what Bitcoin really stands for. And Bitcoin, at its core, the first line is peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer meaning individuals being able to transact freely without any permission required, without any intermediary, without any counterparty. So people peer-to-peer transferring value between one another with absolutely no middlemen, electronic cash. Peer-to-peer electronic cash. The problem is, over the past 12 to 15 odd years, 16 years since Bitcoin's inception, we've fallen into all of these different narratives, and one of the greatest narratives of all has been this one around Bitcoin being primarily a store of value. And unfortunately, through that process, we've lost touch with the original purpose for Bitcoin, and that was as a peer-to-peer value exchange system. And so, really the point here is to understand that Bitcoin, in order for it to thrive into the future, and some would say even that in order for it to survive and to succeed in the future over the course of time, it needs to succeed as a medium of exchange. And I'm a great believer in this. And so when we approach Bitcoin, I think it's really important to have two buckets. You want to be having your long-term savings technology, your capital store of value that you know over the course of time is going to compound and continue to grow. And so you want to have that in one bucket, and you need to be treating that in a certain way in cold storage, potentially running your own node, in self-custody, and doing all of the right things around that. And of course having, a succession plan in place so that, if something was to happen to you, your loved ones, descendants, successors, whatever you want to call them, have access to your store of value, to your multi-generational wealth. But then on the other side, you should have another bucket, which is your transactional Bitcoin, your spending and receiving. And a lot of people haven't woken up to the fact yet that that Bitcoin, you can actually not only just spend it, but you can also earn it. You can also receive it. And we're about to enter a new phase with Bitcoin where people are going to all of a sudden realize that this is a genuine opportunity for them to participate in a circular economy. And we're already seeing it now. And there's something extremely liberating about you and I and others who are adopting Bitcoin, not just as a store of value, but as a medium of exchange, in being able to transfer value peer-to-peer without any intermediary. And this truly is what Bitcoin is about. This is why Bitcoin is considered freedom money or sovereign money. But unfortunately, there's a huge faction of people in Bitcoin who haven't yet realized the power of this yet. And thankfully, there are applications now such as Flash and such as Zaprite that are going to make it increasingly easy for small businesses, consultants, e-commerce stores, you name it, for people to set themselves up to be able to not only offer their customers the opportunity, for them to continue for a period of time to collect fiat currency, but also to be paid in Bitcoin. And so with applications such as Flash, it would enable, for example, a coffee shop to plug this merchant facility into their system and to receive Satoshis, Satoshis being derivatives of Bitcoin, fractions of Bitcoin, and to receive instant settlement on the layer 2, which is the Lightning network, where they can receive immediate payment. And so for a cup of coffee, base layer Bitcoin is not suitable because Bitcoin settles every 10 minutes. And because of that, it wouldn't enable or be suitable for instant payments. Whereas with Lightning, which sits on top of the base layer Bitcoin network, you can have instant settlement. And there are many different Lightning wallet applications that are out there that you can download onto your phone and be up and running in minutes. And so we have to understand this is what's coming. And there's going to be millions and millions of businesses around the world very, very soon that are going to be rushing towards this technology, to this system whereby they can receive value peer-to-peer without the intermediaries, receive instant settlement without any bank fees. I mean, when you consider the charges that banks apply to every FPOS and credit card transaction, it's a big issue. There's billions of dollars every single year collected by banks by just having their hand in the middle. And so this also solves that problem. And the other thing it does is there's no chargebacks. And so we know with credit cards these days, if somebody wants to institute a chargeback, typically the bank will be on the side of that person rather than the merchant. And so this is an issue that is solved as well through this. And so this is what is coming. And so, if you want me to answer the question, is Bitcoin something that you should be spending? My answer to that question is absolutely, but I really want you to consider having a two-system approach to this, having a store of value, because we know that Bitcoin, being the best performing asset on earth, as it's been for the past decade, we know that it's a phenomenal store of value. It's going to outpace everything else: stocks, bonds, shares, real estate, you name it. Bitcoin is going to decimate every other asset in terms of price appreciation, because it's an absolutely scarce monetary protocol. Okay, there's only 21 million Bitcoin. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. Nobody can do anything about that. It's a fixed monetary protocol which has significant unlimited demand heading its way. And when you have a fixed asset with unlimited demand heading its way, what do you think is going to happen to the value? So yes, it's a store of value. First and foremost, we need to be thinking of it that way. But we also cannot escape what Bitcoin was created to be, and that is peer-to-peer value transfer. And that is what freedom money is all about. That is what leads you on the path to self-sovereignty. That is what enables you to be your own bank. And so don't get swept up in the narrative that Bitcoin is only a store of value. It is only digital gold. It is only pristine collateral, because yes, whilst it is all of those things, you also have the opportunity to participate in a growing global circular economy that is going to be absolutely transformational as we move forward and we transition into this separation of money from state. And like I said yesterday in my video, if you haven't yet read the book by Adam Livingston, The Great Harvest, you need to read that book to understand what is coming, not 20 years from now, but in the next 3 to 7, maybe 10 years tops, and how AI is going to absolutely render obsolete so many professions, so much of the labor force, and most people are completely asleep at the wheel and they don't understand what's coming. And now is the time to be setting yourself up with Bitcoin, to be setting yourself up with a meaningful allocation to Bitcoin. If you can afford 1 million sats, buy 1 million sats. If you can afford 10 million sats, buy 10 million sats. Whatever it is that you can afford right now to get yourself in the game and to learn about self-custody and to understand what's coming, that's what you need to do right now. So I hope you got some value from that. I'm going to kind of leave it there today, but there's a lot to unpack there, I know. I want you to think about what I'm saying, because this is the future. This is where we're going. Bitcoin cannot be stopped. Bitcoin cannot be stopped. Maybe it could have been stopped 10 years ago, but now it is far, far too decentralized, far, far too secure. And, now what we have is nation states, the US government, institutions, corporations, Bitcoin treasury companies. We have all of this coming that is going to drive further and further, price growth of Bitcoin, because it's essentially the biggest pools of capital heading for a finite asset. And so you want to have a seat at the table with this monetary protocol. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you need to book a call with me, I'm getting pretty booked up over the next week or so. A lot of people have booked one-on-one calls with me in the last few days. And I can guide you on your journey. I can give you confidence. I can give you strategy. I can help you, point you in the right direction if you're wanting to set up a self-managed superannuation fund, so that you can basically have a Bitcoin-friendly pension plan. Got a lady in Sydney who is an absolute expert in this field, who's been doing this for many, many years, understands Bitcoin, and she'll do it right for you, absolutely compliantly and the way that it should be done. Other than that, like I said, book a call with me if you like. You'll see a link in the show notes below. But I hope you got value from today's video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. This is Zane signing out. Bye for now.